back with another video, and this is for TrevorSoniaBelmont 2000, who wanted me to talk about and review Blade Runner 2049. And I've had this film for a little bit. I got this on a Black Friday. It may have been last year or the year before. So I've had this, for a while. And this will be more like, quick thoughts. Because really, I haven't seen Blade Runner all the way. I know people are like, "What? You haven't seen Blade Runner all the way?" No, it's just one of those things that I haven't gotten around to watch the first film all the way, and I know there's different versions of the film, so that's why I wanted to make this more like a quick thoughts video, and then down the road, when I do watch Blade Runner, I can watch that and this film again, and I can really go more on both of these films and more in depth. So again, just make this more of like a quick thoughts. But thank you, Trevor, for suggesting this movie because I quite enjoyed this movie. And, I know people are like, how can you really follow what's happening because you haven't seen Blade Runner? But even with that, I mean, I still quite enjoyed this movie. And I know it takes place 30 years after the first movie. And, the cast I thought was great here. Ryan Gosling. I do like Ryan Gosling as an actor. I thought he did a great job here. I know he did another film, Drive, which I still have to watch. But I liked his character here. And it's definitely, especially when you get to the visual aspect of the film. Visually, the film is beautiful. And it's very quiet. Kind of, I got a lot of vibes of like 2001, which I'm not saying this is on that level. And I know some of the reviews on IMDb, quite a few people say that this is boring and it's pointless and it's unneeded. But I didn't see, if people don't like this film, that's fine, but I don't see to me that it was boring or pointless. Because, I'm watching this film and, I'm just very mesmerized by this world and the Blade Runner type of world and the different, how the city looks and the different colors and this future. I really got into it and I'm like, it's so beautiful. And this director, I know he's doing the remake of Dune and I forgot what else he's directed. I think Arrival. I think he directed that. But I thought the director here did a great job of, again, developing this world and really just, between the city and the colors and the score, great score here. I don't know who did the score. Maybe I can find his name somewhere. But I thought the score was beautiful. The film itself is beautiful, beautiful visually. But like I said, I was talking about Ryan Gosling. He does great. Harrison Ford, he's more in it, like in the last hour. More in the third act. His character, Deckard, from the first movie. You also have Dave Bautista. He's in there for a little bit in the beginning. Jared Leto, his character is pretty... He's a villain, but it's more of this other lady who's the villain. But Jared Leto is fine. And Robin Wright, she's like the captain of Ryan Gosling. I remember she was in The Princess Bride, so, she's in the film. And you also have Mackenzie Davis, which she was better here than Terminator Dark Fate. And I recognize the girlfriend of Ryan Gosling, the virtual girl, Anna de Armas. Yeah, she was a Knock Knock, which she was much better here in this film than that film. And you do have an appearance by Edward James Olmos, who I know who was in the original film, Castillo from Miami Vice. And, so it was cool to see him there. And, I know the film, is almost, you're almost at 3 hours here, which is weird because, I reviewed Ben-Hur recently, and that was over 3.5 hours. But for me, this one, for a film that's almost 3 hours, I never got bored because I was really into this world and it's a very quiet sci-fi movie. And again, I really got it really reminded me of 2001. Again, I'm not comparing this film to that. I love 2001. That's a very, it's not a lot of dialogue. It's very subtle, and it's ambience, which this film does have. It's, the ambience really, or ambience, I don't know, however you pronounce it, but it definitely does, it has that ambience, and, the score, and visually, I think that's it makes the film stand out. And again, the pacing never bothered me. I mean, you know, for being a 2 hour and 45 minute movie, I never felt that. And I was really into the story. I was invested into the journey of Ryan Gosling's character and Harrison Ford, seeing him come back, and, definitely treat it a whole lot better here than The Force Awakens. And the film does have a sweet, ending, which I liked. And again, I know I should, go back. I really should go and watch Blade Runner, so that way I can really get familiar with the film. And again, I know people are like, what? You haven't seen that movie? It's just one of those things I haven't gotten around to watch. It's just been, I've seen different clips of the film here and there. Uh, again, I know about the different versions. I know people say check out the director's cut. But so yeah, I gotta watch that, to get more familiar, and then I can really go more in on this film, like more in depth on Blade Runner 2049. But I wish I saw this in a theater, and it definitely would have been a great, theater experience and spectacle to see on the big screen. But yeah, I mean, again, great score, and one thing, I mean, of course you can say Harrison Ford, his character should have been in the film more, because again, he's more in like the last hour, kind of sprinkled here and there. And I liked how they kind of brought him in, like how his character sort of came back, and, Ryan Gosling's trying to talk to Harrison Ford, and they're in this like bar, like restaurant type area, and you have these like flickering holograms in the back of like Elvis and Marilyn Monroe, and Harrison Ford is just punching Ryan Gosling, which I heard that Ryan Gosling took a real punch from Harrison Ford on the film. So I thought that was cool. And Harrison Ford physically, I mean, I understand he's up there in age, there's not a lot of action in this film. So, and I wasn't really expecting that. I was, really, I knew going in, this is more of like, again, a quiet, subtle science fiction. It's not like a John Wick with sci-fi touches. But I still enjoy a good sci-fi story. And to me, this was a good sci-fi story. And I quite enjoyed, you know, the journey, and Ryan Gosling's performance, and Harrison Ford, see him in there, even though Jared Leto, his character doesn't really have a comeuppance, but the one lady, the one villain does get a comeuppance, which was cool. So at the end of the day, Blade Runner 2049, to me, was great and wonderfully shot, wonderfully directed. Again, it's a visual smorgasbord, if you will, of colors and this Blade Runner world. And now I want to go back and watch the first movie and sort of get more familiar with the first film, and then go back and watch this film again. So, but yeah, I quite enjoyed this film. I never was bored. I didn't, to me, it wasn't tedious. And I know people say that about the film. If people don't like the film, that's fine, but I never felt that to me. I really dig sci-fi, especially like quiet movies, and this was more of that type of movie. So yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, quite enjoyed this and thought it was well done, well done sequel. And so yeah, that's my review of Blade Runner 2049. And again, I'm sorry this is not much of a review, but I wanted to get more familiar with the first movie, and then I can get more into this down the road. But thank you, Trevor, for suggesting this film. Uh, I wish I saw this in a theater. But thank y'all for watching and have a good day.